She ain't squirting.
Classic.
I debated putting that up because it's a little, a girl in a floozy dress. But I'm like, it's nothing you wouldn't see at a typical Novus Ordo.
That's exactly what you'd see at a Novus Ordo confirmation.
Yeah. What's her name? Lizzie, right? Lizzie wore something similar.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
The big controversy of
Is
Lizzie.
she still around?
Yeah, she is.
I've been blocked for so long, I don't even know.
She goes on and on about her bipolar disorder and stuff, so she's pretty nice. I'm running on. Let's see. I went to bed yesterday at 8:00. Then woke up at 10 with a headache. Got back to bed at like 10:30. Woke up at 1 with a headache. No. I woke up at 12 with a headache. Then I had to leave for work at 1 a.m. So since we got back from our trip to PA, I've been getting 1 to 2 headaches every single day.
It's been every night since then.
Dang, dude.
Every single day at night when I go to bed.
If we weren't live, this is when I would edit in a cut of Enoch describing how you chain smoked 4 cigars.
Yeah.
What if they're related?
Yeah. Well, I thought they might have been, but I haven't been smoking cigars and I'm still getting the headaches. So, but no, they're just seasonal, man. Like I go into these, I'll get like a 2 or 3 week span where I just get them every day and then they'll just go away for a couple of weeks. And so I'm just in the midst of one of those, but I went to work at 1 a.m. I got home at 4 p.m. today. I haven't taken a nap, so I'm a little tired. So you guys will have to forgive my quickness with my my jokes tonight. But I had an incident at work this week. But Rob, if we play that video, you can't play volume because the guy's vulgar. But for anyone that doesn't follow me on Twitter, we had so there was a guy who was intoxicated at 5 a.m. driving an electric scooter, and he crashed into our pickup truck. So it was my brother driving the pickup truck. So typically, if you call the cops on something like that, you got to wait 3 hours for the cops to come. So my brother said, listen, we'll throw you $500 to just let us go, even though it was 100% the guy's fault. Now, everybody freaked out when I said that. They're like, why would you offer the guy money? Because waiting for the cops for 3 hours and you have 10 guys on a crew making prevailing wage, union wage in New York, works out to like $700 an hour. So it wound up costing $2,100. The guy wouldn't take the $500 and he starts demanding $5,000. And my brother's like, you're out of your mind, bro. You're drunk. You drove into us. We were parked. The vehicle wasn't even moving. We're going to call the cops now. So they call the cops. While they're waiting, the guy goes into a rampage, starts flipping out, pulls out a knife, starts waving the knife around. One of my other coworkers grabs a shovel and he's ready to hit him with a shovel. It was mayhem. This guy, he could have taken $500 and walked away. Instead, he does all this. The cops come, they confiscate the scooter, and they confiscate his knife. They don't arrest him, though. So this is another reason you don't call the cops in New York, because they're not going to arrest the guy either way. So the cops tell my brother, they go, we know this guy. He's harmless. Don't worry about him. My brother's like, yo, the guy was just waving a knife at us. Like, what are you talking about? The guy's harmless. Nah, he does this all the time, man. Don't worry. He never hurt anybody. That's what they tell us. So we have a little video of the incident of the guy. So if everybody wants to see, but you can't, no volume. So the guy's cursing up a storm right now. Now you see my 2 workers are in the distance. This guy holding a knife in his hand. You see the knife. He's just cursing like a maniac, drunk. And my guy, Eskimo, he's the Jamaican guy in the back. He's got a shovel. He's ready to smack him over the head with a shovel.
Not that I agree with New York's laws on the issue, but he should have been arrested for concealing that size of a knife anyways. Just by that itself. Yeah.
In New York, yeah.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah, in Texas, we can carry like swords now, open carry, swords, Bowie knives, all kind of stuff open carry here.
Yeah, New York is but the thing is, if a guy's waving a knife at you and you're in an open carry state, you could shoot the guy.
Yeah.
Depending, but yeah.
If your life is in danger and the guy swing, I mean, I've seen cops take guys down with a knife because a guy can get to you with his knife way quicker than you can get your gun off.
Within 7 yards, yes.
So if he approaches you in an aggressive manner where you think your life is in danger within 21 feet, I mean, in Texas, stand your ground laws, Florida. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. There should honestly be a national stand your ground law. Like
100%.
it's just complete common sense. I don't understand why we're in like this type of.
It's literally natural law. Like
No, exactly it is, and so I'm just saying, like, why are we just gonna? I mean, it's control. That's the only reason.
Well, a lot of states have castle doctrine where you're allowed to defend your home. New York has a duty to retreat.
In your home, even?
Yes. You have a duty to retreat. Okay. So
define that a little bit, because I'm a little bit unfamiliar with that term.
So if a guy comes into my home armed,
Anthony has to run.
I have a duty to retreat. Now, if I can defend myself.
If there's no reasonable path of retreat, then Anthony can defend himself.
But now let's say the guy turns his back on me and I shoot him in the back in my home and he has a gun, I'm going to prison.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. Absolutely insane.
You know, in Minnesota, they don't call it castle doctrine, but the way the law reads is that if you believe, like if there's a reasonable belief that someone is about to commit a felony in your home, you can kill them.
Yeah.
Breaking entry is a felony.
Yeah, but you don't know if the person is armed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just wacky the way New York and New Jersey have their gun laws, man. It's
it
crazy.
Just sounds like they're like New York and New Jersey are definitely like one of those last holdouts, because like for all the black pillars that you see online who are just kind of complaining that, especially like on all issues of freedom, we're just completely losing everything over the last like 2 decades, but really over the last decade, Second Amendment rights groups have done so much. So many states have adopted very, very pro Second Amendment laws. I mean, just look at the 1980s versus now. Just do like a chart comparison of both, and you'll see that we're absolutely rocking it, kicking that issue really, really well. And so, but it just sounds like, yeah,
basically the West.
You got to go into Congress, bro. You probably be the best Congress.
So do I have to start leaving messages where I say to you now? I see somebody said this is their first show in here. Hang on, let me see.
You guys got to check it to see if you guys got any podcast reviews.
Oh yeah, check for any podcast reviews, Rob. Let's see. Somebody said it's their first time catching us live. Where is it?
It was at the very beginning.
Caleb, first time catching you guys live, finally. Okay, Caleb, you have to do a $10 super chat. That's the rule. We're kidding.
We have one new review.
One new review. Let's hear it.
Okay. It's from Expired, and it says, flabbergasted. I'm simply flabbergasted that I listen to these guys. They are uneducated, really don't know anything about anything, have absolutely no connections with anyone of any importance, and in general are dumbfounded on every conceivable front. Hey, I'm even more than a bit suspicious that they may be insane. Give them a listen. It will be time well spent. 5 stars.
5 stars. I love when we get new reviews, man. That's one of my favorite things we do on this show. So if you guys have
absolutely love to see people who just don't know the show, just like flipping through random podcasts, coming across yours and being so confused. Like,
well, do you know how this bit started? This bit started because somebody left a horrific review for us. Like somebody really left a bad review for us and left 2 stars.
Do you remember what it was from?
What was it? What was I started an argument with somebody on Twitter, right?
No, I think, well, no, it was Angela. Her 5-head, remember?
No, the first bad review?
I'm pretty sure it was from that, right?
I think I started an argument with somebody on Twitter and they came just to like, they thought they were going to take a dig at us. Go back and find it. It's the first review. It's like, so they thought they were going to take a dig at us. And I'm like, okay, let's run with this. I'm like, everybody leave terrible reviews, but just make sure you leave 5 stars to bring the average up. Because we would have an impeccable 5-star average if it wasn't for this 1-star review. This idiot left 1 star.
I gotta go back because they're the first reviews.
There's like 500 reviews now.
Well, 68.
Wow, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Okay, so from May of last year, May 25th, much to be desired. Anthony is a ghoul. We're not impressed.
That was it?
That was 1 star.
That's the whole review.
Oh no, you know what it was? It was the Uvalde. There was that one person that everyone thought was the shooter. You know,
Oh, yeah.
so the host of this show participated in the doxing of an innocent trans person after the Uvalde school shooting.
Okay.
The hoax originated on far right-wing websites like 4chan and InfoWars. It was promoted by white nationalist Congressman Paul Gosar.
Well, there
1
you
star.
go.
You're right. It was your fault.
It was my fault. Of course, it was my fault. I always rub people the wrong way. So yeah, and then today I asked on Twitter. I should have sent you the results of the poll.
I'll find it.
Yeah. I asked, is everyone a child of God? Yes, was the two replies were, you could say yes or no, only those who are baptized. And I'm sorry, guys, a little slow today. Let me just say.
Of course, you've tweeted 400 times since
Of course,
then.
yes.
Okay, is every human being a child of God? So,
Now, what are the results?
of course, because you put the third option in, I have to do math to figure out the percentages.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so no, here it is. All right, so 56% said yes.
No.
Everyone is a child of God. Every
No,
human being is a child.
Like I
of
said,
God.
you can't, that's not the actual result. Give me a second.
Because I gave show results, right?
Yeah, so 14% is show results, so it's not really. Let's see here.
Math
So
is fun.
take 200 votes away.
Man,
How
I'm
many people
flabbergasted. Yeah, flabbergasted that this guy named Anthony looks so based in trad build.
Rigid killing. The
Divided
internet.
by 65% said yes.
Wow, it's even higher.
How many people voted in total?
They're above 1,400. So it's actually that makes it statistically like legitimate.
That's basically when they do presidential polls. That's about how many people they poll.
Once they get to 1,100, they figure they can make statistical conclusions from it.
So what does it come out to? 60 what?
65% say yes.
Okay, so,
And 35% get it right.
all right. So now this is not as easy as I thought it was. Okay, there is a little bit of controversy in this because I texted Father Dave Nix and he said it's not such a simple answer. The Roman Catechism isn't 100%. Like there's some ambiguity to it. So there's a couple of different places we can look to see why people would even think that. So the main one I found is in Acts chapter 17, verses 27 and 28, right? So let's pull that up. Acts chapter 17, verse 27. So, okay, so I'll start from verse 26. And he made from every nation of men to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their habitation.
What chapter of Acts?
Acts chapter 17, verse 27, that they should seek God in the hope that they might feel after him. Yet, oh wait, no, that's not it. Wait. Oh wait, do I have the wrong? Oh man, that's the wrong one. Oh, here it is. 29. 28. I'm sorry. So, for in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. So that's all Paul says. Okay, so he says, being then God's offspring, we ought not to think that the deity is like gold, silver, or stone, a representation by the art and imagination of man. So my argument with this would be Paul is not actually saying we're all children of God. What he's saying is
we're all created by God.
Yes, we're all created by God and we're in his image and likeness. Therefore, our image and likeness, God's image and likeness should ours is taken from it. So you can't put God in stone and marble and make an idol of him. God is, we are his offspring. So the image should not be of a golden calf. It should not be of a bull. It should not be things like that. He's not saying what people are claiming he's saying, because in reality, we receive divine adoption at baptism. It is through grace that we become children of God and gain an inheritance in the kingdom of heaven. So it's one of the most profound things of Christianity is that when we make the sign of the cross, what we're saying is God is a family. It's like the most profound mystery of Christianity, that Jesus is God's son, and that through Jesus, we become co-heirs of the inheritance that the Father has for the Son. And that's only through baptism. That is not by nature. Anything to add?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Whenever I saw the question, the first thing that I came up with in my mind is it just depends on what you mean by a lot of terms and in what context those terms are used. Because when you ask the question, like, are all people children of God? I would say, aside from the fact that we need to define our terms, I'd say yes, in the sense that we're all created by him. So maybe like yes by affiliation, but no by justification and redemption, right? And so on the one hand, like we are all children of God in the sense that we are his creatures made by him, because of course God is the author and the final cause of man's life. But at the same time, not all man is born again. And so when we look at scripture, right, we see Christ talk and emphasize to Nicodemus in John chapter 3 that a man has to be born again, and that new birth, which takes place at baptism, you see all throughout the New Testament, is not just seen as a new birth, but also seen as an adoption. But to be adopted means that you were previously in one camp and now you're in the other camp, one family, now in a new family. And so the question then therefore begs, it's like, if all men is just the children of God, then what would be the necessity to be adopted? Like, what would be the point? But then it's like, well, okay, if you're being adopted, whom are you being adopted from, and whom are you going to? So it's like, okay, the common answer is that like we're being adopted into the family of God, or the mystical body of Christ through baptism. We all get that. But what are we being adopted from? Well, scripture is actually clear. We're actually being adopted from the kingdom of Satan, right? The fallen kingdom of Satan, the fallen, as scripture talks about, like in Ephesians chapter 2, right? It talks about how like you were dead in your trespasses and sins, right? And then you were also given over as like servants and slaves to follow the prince of the power of the air, right? Which is a term for Lucifer that's used in scripture. But First John chapter 3 is actually clear, because it talks about how everybody who commits sin is the servant of sin, right? And he's linking this to John chapter 8 when our Lord's speaking about this, but is actually the child of the devil. But those who practice righteousness are the children of God, because they have the seed of God, i.e. baptism, sanctifying grace in their soul. And so if they have sanctifying grace in the soul, right, they've been baptized, they're walking in the light of faith, right, then they are the children of God. But if they are, not baptized, unregenerate, following after the fallen passions of the first father, Adam, then they would, in the spiritual sense, not be the children of God. Although by origin, sure, they would be, by being created, the children of God in a little sense. So
you're also at baptism. So if you get adopted, if I go and adopt a child, that child now receives my name, right? So when you're being baptized, you are receiving the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You are receiving a new name in baptism, right? So then in Romans chapter 8, Paul says, for all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but have received the spirit of sonship when we cry, Abba, Father. It is the Spirit himself bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. It's only those who receive the Spirit, and you receive the Spirit at baptism. That is when you receive the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And the Roman Catechism from Trent says that baptism is the spiritual regeneration by which we are born children of God.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, I'm looking here at Scholastic Answers comment. By the way, I actually really like Scholastic Answers show as a side, although I don't agree 100% with all of his takes, but overall, I think he actually has a very, very interesting show. But he talks about right here, he says, all men are children of the same common Father, who is God. And he's quoting Pope Leo XIII, Rerum Novarum. And again, I'd say, of course, you don't disagree with it. I would say, like, Catechism of Trent and Rerum Novarum are just looking at it from two different perspectives. You know, at
Mhm.
least the Catechism of Trent's looking at it as the process of regeneration. Whereas, at least in this very brief snippet, I'd have to read the whole context, of course, of what you're quoting. But it sounds like the common father, right? It's referring to the fact that we're all creatures created by God. And because of that, he is our common father in the sense of being our creator. And so, I
So
guess
do you think the people that answered yes to the question had that in mind, or do you think they just have this generic hippie Vatican II style of understanding Catholicism? That's what I'm wondering, because I would say being created in the image and likeness of God is not the same thing as being a child of God. That you still have an inherent dignity about you before you're baptized because you are created in the image and likeness of God. It's not like, because the animals are also created by God, not in his image and likeness, but they're also created by God, but they're not his children. So there's an inherent dignity of being a human being created in his image and likeness that the animals don't have. But I still wouldn't say they are children of God just because they are human beings.
No, yeah. So this would be two technically separate different areas. So it's like, on the one hand, I would say that, so to be made in the image and likeness of God, right, means that we have rationality and a free will. That's what it is. So angels are also made in the image and likeness of God. Both of us, right, humans and angels, separate from the animals, because they don't have that capacity, they don't have a rational soul. When it comes to your original question of how those people were asking it, perhaps it can kind of elaborate a little bit to scholastic answers kind of question about, like, is this a controversy or not, or why is this a controversy? I would say probably the way that most people on Twitter are probably going to be answering this question, right? Twitter is not a bastion of scholastic nuance. And so probably they're going to be looking at it from a more quasi universalistic tendency of just saying, you know, like, aren't we all like brothers and sisters of in God, you know, kumbaya, let's hold hands and kind of go around the fire and everything's fine. That is a very much so a tendency that you do see in common parlance, right? Not necessarily in theology, but like in common parlance. Like when you walk, I'll tell you guys a story. I'll give you a brief example. When I was in Kansas, right, or actually Missouri, excuse me, going to see Tim, there was one night, right, I was finally getting to see Tim Flanders in person, right? I was so excited. I've been driving for 15 hours. And then poor
And then
Tim,
you got there and he's asleep because it's
poor
8
Tim,
p.m.
like he was just like, I got to go to bed. I got to go to bed.
I knew it.
Anyone who knows Tim Flanders know he goes to bed at, like, you know, 6 p.m. or something crazy like that. Anyway, so I was a little disappointed, but as I was waiting out, like before I got the message, I was actually waiting outside this hotel, and I was kind of just waiting for him to show up. And this old man, kind of comes up to me, and, you know, kind of like most jovial old men, they're just wanting to talk, you know, to somebody, I guess, that's not another jovial old man. And we started talking, and then he told me this interesting story about how he was in California in this kind of just like apartment duplex, and it caught fire. Right now, this guy's 70 years old. It caught fire, and he was trapped, was completely trapped. And that fire ended up killing over 80 people. Like, it was a horrible fire. It happened like 3 or 4 years ago. And this guy, for the first time in his life, he'd never been baptized. He was never practicing of any type of religion. He got on his knees, he just prayed. He was just like, God, I don't know if you're real, but if you're real, please get me out of here. It seems so convenient that when that the atheist all of a sudden needs God in that moment. And so, but he actually ended up, the fire department came and they got him out. And it was only he and his wife were the only people in this entire apartment complex that made it out alive. It was crazy. Now, he went on, and so this dude, he has a fair amount of money. He wasn't like this crazy homeless dude or anything, right? He had gotten a new house in Kentucky. He was kind of going between places talking to us. And one thing he brought up, though, as we were talking to him, is that, like, he's exploring religion for the first time. And in exploring for religion for the first time, you know, he's not going to get the scholastic precision that as a Thomist I would want, but he was very much so talking about, you know, we're all children of God, we're all children of God, we're all children of God. But he was talking about this in the context of, he was an atheist, though kind of exploring, so kind of agnostic to a degree. His wife is a Jehovah's Witness, right? And then like all of his kids were just varying other things. So he's kind of approaching that phrase, we're all children of God, through that lens.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like how your average American is going to be approaching it. It's just kind of what you would call an imperfect indifferentism. If you were going to use the precise scholastic term for it, it would be, every religion in some form or fashion is good. And aren't we all kind of children of God? And the problem with this, of course, is it denies the reality that because God is a personal being, he has revealed to mankind a unique means of salvation, a la the Catholic Church. Now, of course, you don't just bash him over the head.
Yeah.
You must convert. I'll baptize you now against your will. But we just kind of sat with them there, and Tim was long asleep, but I ended up hanging out with him for like an hour out in the parking lot of a random, motel out in the middle of nowhere. And it was cool because by the end of the conversation, we get him to, I was with a friend, we get him to the place of recognizing that he should go and check out, the Catholic Church, the Latin Mass and things like that for the first time. But it was just through sitting with him, getting there.
Yeah.
You walk with, that's true. Like walking with people, you don't just bash them over the head, but you slowly or correct them to the right place. So probably a lot of these people on Twitter, they're in a similar situation where it's just kind of like, maybe they don't believe exactly that thing, but something around that has at least influenced their way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably how they're asking.
So even when what the Catholic Church teaches, where we say we are saved by grace through faith, by no works, like you didn't do anything to earn this grace of faith. So when you were dead in your sin, before you believed anything, God still loved you enough. So it's not like before you're baptized, God doesn't love you. He still loves you. You just haven't received divine adoption yet. So I think a lot of people think that's what trads are saying. Maybe, I don't know. It's not, because when you were dead in your sin before you did anything to deserve it, God pours this grace on you and you get this gift of faith. And then the play between works and faith goes into play. But 100%. It's really that's the big thing that Protestants don't get. It's, to them, it's you're just saved by faith and grace, and that's it. And there's nothing else. No, you are saved by grace, because when you were dead in your sins, you did nothing to earn it, but God somehow broke through into your heart for you to open up to say, okay, God, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. And he does that. Right. So, but I would say even that you didn't do anything to deserve it or earn it, but your heart needs a certain disposition to receive it.
Yeah, no. So what it is it's like, so in the Catholic sense, actual grace is drawing or kind of wooing the person to accept sanctifying grace. And you're absolutely right, Anthony, because it's like that initial grace at baptism, we can never merit, right? That's impossible. We cannot merit. I think it's the heresy of, Pelagianism and also semi-Pelagianism.
Sean said, I can't even get friends to consider not being rabid anti-Catholics, while Nick is getting random homeless men to go to the traditional Latin Mass.
I don't know. St. Dominic pray for me, but yeah, no. So it's like we can't merit that initial justification, but then like after that point, you're right. Like we can cooperate, merit in the context of being rewarded, right? God's grace and ultimately heaven. But the Protestant, I think the problem is that the Protestant, and again, that term is so broad, but Luther doesn't define faith in the same way that the Catholic Church does. So it's like we see faith as like, that first theological virtue infused into the mind or into the intellect through baptism that allows us to assent to the truths of faith, not because of their internal rationality, but because of the person who's revealed them. Whereas a Protestant just kind of looks at faith as kind of like a trust, kind of just like trusting, which we would say is more closer to hope. And so the problem is like, a Protestant is just kind of hoping out there in Christ's death in the imputed justification sins, whereas we're actually willing to cooperate with that death and let its merits apply to us every day.
Blessed Thursday should be inviting his wife over to listen as well. There's plenty of ladies who enjoy.
Whoa. Depends.
Yeah,
are we done with the woman bashing segment for tonight yet or not?
Yeah, I think so. I went pretty easy on that. Well, okay. You know what? You want to get into it? Because I'm gonna.
Well, hold on. We're talking about work. I just want to know: do you think your works of playing your New York racist videos is going to get you into heaven?
Okay, so David L. Gray got a little upset with me.
Did he ask that specific question like that?
David O'Gray got
Not
upset with me
that
because all right,
specific question.
this will go into the woman conversation too. This is a good segue. So there was just recently another incident of a person of color getting pulled over by the cops, and instead of him
And getting
complying,
domed for
he
wrestling with the
choked
cop.
he choked the police officer and he wound up getting shot. Now this guy was in prison, falsely accused for 16 years. He just got out. It's a sad story. It really is. And I'm not a fan of the police in situations like this. The guy was driving 100 miles an hour and the cop wanted to lock him up for reckless endangerment. To me, it's like, give the guy a ticket.
Sure.
Just give the guy a ticket. Why are you arresting the guy? Because there was another video I saw. Oh, so I'll finish this story first. So, what my point was, somebody wrote how this is this is crazy. The ACLU said something like black men are 3 times more likely to be shot by police than white people. Like they gave the statistic, and I said, yeah, they're also like 700 times more likely to resist and not comply. And David L. Gray took offense to that and accused me of being racist. But a lot of it goes into what I've been watching.
Well, this was also the same day
that I posted
a few hours after your brother was held at knife point by some guy.
So I posted the video of my brother being held at knife point, which was also a black guy. And then I posted that about that. But it goes into, because of all the videos I've been watching where I watch these police encounters and 90% of them would just be a ticket. But there's always a person who doesn't want to comply with the police, and the police end up, okay, sir, get out of your car now. And they don't want to, and they resist arrest, and it becomes this violent altercation.
Yeah.
The other one I saw that really, I wanted to do a whole show on when women are given authority and just show women police videos, because women cops are tyrants. These 2 women pull this other woman over. She's doing 70 in a 45. And the female cop goes over and she is so nasty to this woman right off the bat, yelling at her. The woman's like, I'm just running late to work. She was so nice to the cop. Didn't get out of the car. Why am I getting out of the I said get out of the car. So now the cop takes her license and goes back to her car to run her license. And while she's in her police vehicle, she's talking to the other female cop, and she goes, what should I do? Should I arrest her or just give her a ticket? And she goes, let's flip a coin. And they flipped the coin and it landed on arrest. And they arrested this woman. She's going 75. She's running late for work. I mean, come on. Who hasn't done 75 and a 45? Come on. That's not, I know it's dangerous. It's not, I'm just saying, everybody's done it. Come on.
It's really fast.
My thing is flipping of the coin. I'm just like, what?
How flippant these women were to flip a coin to arrest the person. So
Jeff
what happened?
Love that joke.
Flippant.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a pun. It turns out these 2 female police officers get fired because the police body cam footage shows the coin flip and all that stuff. And the thing is, the woman who got arrested, they could have handled. You have a duty as a police officer to cause as little bit of a problem for someone as possible. I mean, if somebody needs to be arrested, they need to be arrested, but you should be not looking to arrest someone just because you feel like it. So the cop also, the police officer also said she was doing 75, but didn't have a radar gun.
That would have been thrown out in court so fast.
It's not only thrown out, all the tickets were thrown out. The reckless driving, the speeding, all her tickets were thrown out, and the 2 cops were fired. It was just completely thrown out. Like, they took no regard for the woman's reputation. She then missed work. She was on her way to work, running late as it was. The cop just took it so far, so out of control. Then I watched another video of a female cop who pulls up in front of a school, and she was trying to get down the road, and all the parents were parked outside to pick their kids up. And she flashed the lights, and the people didn't move right away when she flashed the lights. And she goes on a rampage and throws the N-word out. There's a white female cop. And it's all on body cam footage, and she lost her job too. It just shows, first off, women should never be cops. It just, for a woman to ruin another woman's day by flipping a coin, it's just,
Well, that, to be honest, it's so like a woman.
it's petty. It's just,
It's a gross act of injustice because it's like, I mean, you are there to protect and to serve the population. And yes, of course, like, is this woman who's driving too fast, is that a problem? Yes, of course. I'm not downplaying that. But like, come on, you're going to flip a coin? That's completely gross error of justice.
To be fair, the Supreme Court has ruled that the police are not there to protect and serve anyone.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
they don't have a duty to.
Yeah, they have a
Right.
duty. Yeah. I would say, well, I guess it would be this. They have a moral duty because see, here's the thing,
yeah.
and this is where
I agree
I'm
with
going to
you.
prove that this is just where the U.S. system has really just it's so un-Catholic, is that the like one of the roles of society, right, because we're social beings, is to help direct man to his final end, right, to
Mhm.
final beatitude with God. That doesn't mean that the state is the church or something, and right. But what that does mean, of course, is that like in all of our laws, we're supposed to promote the true religion. We're supposed to, in our morals, really exercise and promote good morals. And so in this context of morals, this applies to not just like, banning things that are bad, but also promoting like a justice system, which is truly in accordance with the virtue of justice. And so when you see, people who are just like, who cares? Let me just flip a coin, or things along that nature. It's
But how about even allowing women in this dangerous job to begin with?
because I would argue, like, one thing that came to mind when you were telling the story was like, how about, like, what's so beautiful about femininity is when a woman can take her authority that comes from her husband, which comes from God, and exercise that in accordance with rightly ordered principles in the context of the family with the children, right? That is a beautiful thing. But once a woman goes outside of that sacred covering, which is hers, right, by the natural law, it goes insane.
First off, I love that Molly's watching. Yeah, there's something about a woman with an overinflated ego that there's just this ruthlessness, and you see it in female politicians.
Yes.
And you see it specifically in conservative female politicians, which is why I can't stomach.
It's more apparent because it's so hypocritical, I would say.
So hypocritical.
It's there in liberal politicians too, but
of course, but at
it's
least
more
they're
apparent.
honest about what they are.
Yeah,
They're progressives. But when you have a conservative female politician out there talking about family values, and she's abandoned her family to go be a famous politician in Washington, D.C., there's nothing that upsets me.
And then gets busted at a Beetlejuice concert.
100%. Bobert, nobody upsets me more than that woman. She'll have the nerve and the gall to talk family values. She abandoned her husband and children.
Oh, I know.
And she's hooking up with random guys that she just met and it's
horrible. It's
nauseating.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely horrible. And this is I think the moment when all of us Catholics are just like, can't we have a true righteous person like, Louis the Ninth show up and end up being king of America? But until that day happens, like, it's absolutely horrible.
Can you imagine what Mike Lewis would say about a politician that wants to cut out the tongues of blasphemers?
So let's let this conversation carry over to the attacks, because all of this, the baptism conversation, all of it really started because they are going after Credo.
Right, and they specifically being Lewis and the like.
It's Tom's Digest, who I'm friends with.
Yeah,
Tom's going after him too. They're nitpicking things that Bishop Schneider has said, and they're making a caricature of trads. First off, and I don't like when caricatures are made of any group.
Of the whole Catholic faith, because to them it's anything that started in 1962 and since.
So part of what they were getting at is it's almost as if they think that Catholics have an obsession with hell, almost like that they enjoy the idea of hell. Okay. And the thing is, I would say, I don't think that's what trads are doing. I don't think trads are looking to portray anything of their own interpretation on it. They just want the truth.
Yeah,
so when
look at the whole like parameter of the traditionalist movement, like whether people like it or not, the traditionalist movement is spearheaded by Archbishop Lefebvre, who is all about the salvation of souls. Like literally every single thing he does, from planning chapels to schools to helping religious orders get revigorated and things like that, is all because of the salvation of souls. It's not like, hey, if someone was consistent and they were just gleeful, what they would do is they'd just be like, well, let's just shut everything down. How about this? Let's shut everything down and make you wear a mask, and you'll never show up, and have fun being saved. Like that's just not.
But
That's
even
not
Nick, even the conversation on baptism, right? Somebody shoots back at me and says, "So what are you saying, that newborn infants aren't children of God?" And they always love to go to the baby limbo. It's like, listen, you guys have to understand, if you take away the necessity of baptism, what you're taking away is the necessity to evangelize.
And you've also become like you're you'd have to say it out loud, but you're bordering on heresy, because we do dogmatically believe that baptism, in whatever form it takes place in, right, is necessary for salvation. We also dogmatically believe that those who die with original sin only are deprived of the beatific vision. And so, like, it's
now I would say this. I would say this because they always love to throw baby limbo at me. Baby limbo. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Limbo of infants.
Baby limbo.
This is the Italian commentary.
My thing would be, look, we believe baptism is necessary, and I would say, dare we hope for infants is okay.
And so it's okay in the strict sense of the term, but it is like, I really do think that the modern view, just kind of like dare we hope, is just so faulty and on.
Yeah, it is.
Actually, speaking of which, so Scholastic Answers actually put forward a pretty good video about it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But basic gist is this: it's like, look, we dogmatically believe baptism is necessary for salvation. We also dogmatically believe that if you die with original sin only, right, that you're deprived of the beatific vision. So those are basically like two walls, right, that you have to somehow weave through your interpretation. Okay, well, how does dare we hope fit into this? And one thing that people have brought up, that he brought up in this video, is that like Cardinal Cajetan theorized for a brief period of time. I'm gonna see if I remember it correctly. That like, what if it was the faith of the parents, that was somehow like, imputed to them, just in the same way that like the faith of the parents is required for baptisms and things like that. The issue that kind of arises from this point, though, is that aside from the fact that, baptism is needed for salvation, what does this mean, though, therefore, if Imbo of Infants doesn't exist, for all of the babies whose parents aren't Catholic?
Mm-hmm.
They would go to hell.
They would go to hell.
They would go to hell, and that would be the only way that you could answer it. And so only way, according to both the magisterial texts that I've cited and the ones that I haven't, because there's plenty, I really do think is Imbo of Infants or baby limbo. Yeah.
Baby limbo. But I would just say we are bound by the sacraments. We are. This is what Christ gave us. We are bound by the sacraments. God is not. So what God chooses to do in his wisdom is beyond our understanding.
Sure.
So we just have to follow what God gave us.
Exactly. But one of the things God gives us, though, is the faith. And so it's just like, if we are pinned in by what he has divinely revealed. So it's like, God is not bound by the sacraments in the sense that, like, yes, you need this exact, instrumental cause of sacramental grace, etc., but to be infused in this specific manner. But at the same time, it's like, well, it is eternally true that those who have original sin on their conscience, and that alone, will be deprived of the beatific vision.
Yeah, they have to be, right?
That's the only way, yeah.
Yeah, they have to be. And I understand that's a hard thing for people to handle, especially if somebody's had a miscarriage, right? Rob, you've had more than one miscarriage. So it's that's a hard thing to grasp. But there's no suffering there. It's just they don't behold the beatific vision.
Yeah, it would
not
only
the sufferings of hell.
Yeah, what is it called? Take this with a massive grain of salt, what I'm about to say. But
I could probably look it up in hot real quick.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pull one of my manuals off the shelf here, but it's like deprived of like the joy of sense, in the sense of like, seeing God. Yeah, like the sense of joy, seeing God in the beatific vision, but they're not punished with the punishments of hell, any of the torments, etc. Because again, they're not culpable of that. But at the same time, because God is perfectly just, and Revelations 21:8 is very clear that like no impure thing shall enter into his sight.
Okay, so so Odd here says, in the punishment of hell, theologians distinguish between the pena demni, which consists in the exclusion from the beatific vision of God, and the poena sensus, which is caused by external means, more or less like the fires of hell.
Yeah.
St. Augustine and many Latin fathers are of the opinion that children dying in original sin must suffer the
torments of hell. Yeah.
The torments of hell,
yeah,
even if only a very mild one. The Greek fathers and the majority of the scholastics and more recent theologians teach that they suffer only the pains from the exclusion of the beatific vision.
Okay, so the fathers are not unanimous. That's first off, right? But the other thing is that what we're getting at here is I'm not going to put what I wish the thing is onto it. I just want the truth of the thing. And what I feel and what I hope and what I want is irrelevant. So if I'm reading saints and the church fathers and they're saying something and I don't like it, I don't get to bend it to make me handle it better.
Basically, suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, this is what was given to us. So this caricature that they're coming up with is the trad who's got this obsession with hell and almost takes joy in the idea of those who are not in the faith or in a state of grace not getting heaven. No, that's absurd. Of course not. That should break anyone's heart. It would be amazing if God could find a way to pour grace into that person's life and save them. We should be praying for our enemies' salvation. But the idea is I'm not going to make something up because it sounds bad. I don't care about feeling good. I care if something's true.
No, it has to be. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like our emotions, our passions are going to go here, there, and everywhere. And you're absolutely right, Anthony, because it's like, it's easy for me kind of in the scholastic drawing room to be like, okay, here are the different theories. Here's what makes the most sense. But like, on the other hand, you're absolutely right. It is a real thing that affects mothers and fathers and siblings and things along that nature. But at the same time, theology is the study of God and of things in relation to God. And we have to look at every theological question in a theocentric lens. And the problem is it's like, if we really take the dare we hope mentality in this context to its logical conclusion, I would argue that it starts to challenge the justice of God.
It does.
That's what, like,
you're declaring that God is not just.
Exactly, because it's like, well, even though God is not punishing them with the pain of sins, which is just, right, that he's not, he would still be obligated to have a certain amount of deprivation to them because of original sin. Like, this is why, guys, we should talk about the necessity of baptism for children very, very early. I think we were talking about it in the chat yesterday in the Telegram chat. Why the church emphasizes you must baptize your infants as soon as possible, or else it becomes morally an issue. Right?
It's supposed to replace circumcision, so it should be done within 8 days.
Exactly. It needs to be done ASAP. And the thing is that, if it's not done, for any type of just cause, which I'd say is a very, very, it's not things like, waiting for the whole family to show up. It becomes an issue. I have a friend, right? He's a father of 2, and he's just got married like 3 years ago, has 2 beautiful baby girls, but he took this very seriously. And when his first was born, it was like 2 days. And then she was, boom, they were at the church getting the baptism done, etc. Right? He's in the SSPX, of course, so you have that baseness there. But you don't see that everywhere, and that's a major problem.
So I remember this story. If it's the same story, I mean, it might be a different story. But the people that were urging this woman to baptize her kid, she was getting furious at that. Might be a different story, but there was a woman who had a sick child, and everybody was like, you should baptize the baby. And it caused this outroar. And it was like, everybody was like, how could you be so mean and make her think that she needs to baptize her child? It's like, the people saying to baptize the baby are the only ones that actually care about that baby. 100%. Everyone else worried about the mother's feelings doesn't actually care about the soul of that baby.
100%, because it's like, I mean, you look at the traditional rite of baptism, it very clearly expresses the reality of like the devil's hold upon even a child, right? And the necessity for divine grace. And I saw one person, they asked a good question. Let me just say this too. When it comes to even limbo of infants, right? Limbo of infants is not a bad place. It's not a place of like physical suffering and pain. It is actually, you know, the theologians will talk about a place of all natural happiness, right? So it is, you know, it is a happy place. It is not that, you know, that they're just sitting there kind of oh hum, etc., and nothing is happening. Right? It is a place of
like
great.
I said here, yeah, St. Thomas says that natural bliss is compatible even with the pain of the damned, with the pains of being separated from the beatific vision. So
Exactly, because the thing is, like, when it comes to like actual hell, the sufferings of hell are multi-level. They're in the soul, they're in the flesh, etc. And so the rejoicing, therefore, on the flip side of it, is going to be in the same way. And so, but yeah, we gotta baptize infants early, and this is why, like, this whole system where we're just not emphasizing true evangelization. We're not going out. We don't see people like having this urgency to go out and to baptize and to call man for conversion, right? It's so evil. It's so incredibly evil. And that's why we got to pray that, you know, we have priests and missionaries that really rise up and go forth into the ends of the world to baptize, because like these are actual souls at stake. And yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's why baptism, you know, it is the most important sacrament.
I want to pull up some of the credo criticisms. Okay, so
I have one here. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
all right.
I'm waiting for Dr. Hahn to get his next hit piece for endorsing this book.
Okay, so wait, let's go with this. Well, this is all goes back to this and stuff. So, all right. Well, before even that, Rob, let's see. Unless I'm misreading it, Bishop Schneider in Credo seems to be asserting no unbaptized person has human dignity, and 2, anyone who is in a state of mortal sin also lacks human dignity. This seems ... really bad and dangerous, in addition to being false. Okay, so this is
who is this that wrote this?
This is the
you
this guy,
know who it was.
No, that was Tom.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was Tom. So
I don't know
is the dignity of this is what Bishop Schneider wrote. Is the dignity of the human person rooted in is the dignity of the human person rooted his creation in God's image and likeness? This was true for Adam, but with original sin, the human person lost this resemblance and dignity in the eyes of God. He recovers this dignity through baptism. He keeps it as long as he does not sin mortally. So that's what Nick was getting into when he said the word dignity, or Rob, is it you maybe saying, what do we mean by the word dignity there?
Right. Schneider is using dignitas in like the old like Roman sense, which was like a moral standing. It's your moral standing. It's not like your identity as a human being.
It doesn't mean you're worthless.
Right.
It means you lost something through original sin. Adam loses something through original sin, right? So it's okay. So I think Protestants view original sin as a stain on the soul, where Catholics view original sin as a lacking of God's grace in the soul.
Well, I'd say it's both. So it's like in the sense, well, it depends again what you mean by certain things, but yeah, like the stain in the sense that like we are going to have like the niggling vestiges of
Nick
can't
use that word.
Wow.
What word?
Oh my goodness.
What word? Vestiges? No.
Yeah.
What?
The way you said it, just sounded like
we're just making a joke.
It just sounded a little.
I was like, what's wrong with vestiges?
David L. Gray's coming for you now, man.
I don't even know who that is, but all right.
I don't know who that is. All right, let's go again. Let's do the niggling thing.
Short. I was like, did I trespass upon like so?
No, we just thought it was a funny line. Okay. What did you call me?
I'm so confused. Okay, whatever. Yeah, my point is, so like we have, you know, through original sin, when it's forgiven in baptism, we still, of course, have a certain amount of its effects, right? So we have, a darkened, the remainder of a certain darkened intellect, a divided will, inflamed passions, things like that. And it's, again, forgiven. I would say Bishop Schneider is completely correct. The problem is that I think that, and I thought I saw it in one of the questions that you pulled up, Rob, so many people are looking at this concept of dignity through Immanuel Kant's lens.
Yes.
And that is a problem because they're getting this from primarily an incorrect view of sin itself. So this is what's so interesting. So many modern catechisms and modern faith formation programs, and I can say this as a catechist for almost 4 years now, what they'll do is they'll say, what is sin? And they'll say, it's a wounding of man's dignity, right? Which is so like, okay, this is a 7th grader. Like, what is, like, how is that?
They're actually saying the same thing that Schneider's saying.
Well, but see, this thing, what they mean by the sin, though, is that they're emphasizing the fact that, like, man's dignity, I don't think they're saying is rooted in the concept of sanctifying grace, because where they're getting their idea of sin comes from is they're not focusing on the reality that sin is first and foremost. Yeah, it's an injustice against God. It's an injustice against God, and therefore we, as his subordinate creatures, of course, have to render that. Only through Christ, of course, can that be rendered. And so therefore they're looking at this human dignity through a different lens. And I think that's where this criticism comes. But that's where, like, all theology, the body, and JP2's personalism, like, so much of it's influenced by, Enlightenment
Listen
style.
to me. I would say when a woman dresses provocatively, she loses her dignity. How can this not be true?
No, exactly.
Right? I mean, if I do something that if I sin in certain ways, of course you lose your dignity. It's undignified. Something is undignified. I mean, come on. This isn't even a problematic thing. I don't understand it. All right, so let's go to the next one. According to Bishop Schneider and Credo, basic human fraternity can only exist between the baptized, who are only persons with basic human dignity, in quotes. I'm really beginning to be not quite sure how Schneider's version of Catholicism is incompatible with abortion or genocide. He's twisting what
that
Schneider
is a
means.
Gross interpretation of what he's saying.
So this is what Schneider said. Does Christian humanism radically affirm the dignity of every person as a child of God, thereby establishing a basic fraternity? This is what we were talking about earlier. Right. No, it is the sacrament of baptism that establishes basic human fraternity, for there is no parity between the condition of those who have adhered to the Catholic truth by the heavenly gift of faith and the condition of those who, led by human opinions, follow a false religion. And if anyone shall say that the condition of the faithful and those who have not yet attained to the only true faith is on par, let him be anathema. So that's a dogmatic.
I wonder from what council that is. Let me look at that footnote real quick.
So so look, what he's talking about there, in the way I see it, is he's addressing Francis and the basic sentiment we have in the church right now about human fraternity. Oh, we have to build human fraternity, right? And he's saying, no, you can't have fraternity of man without the fatherhood of God.
Notice how in Lewis, this is from Mike Lewis here. Notice that Lewis gives the footnote 53 says it's a confusing claim with catechism, but he doesn't tell you what footnote 54 is, which is probably a dogmatic statement from a council.
It sounds like Vatican I.
Wait, is that his opinion a confusing claim of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, or
no,
is that's the footnote?
That's Schneider's footnote, I think. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah. Okay. So, in other words, what they're trying to do now with the Abrahamic Faith House and with they're trying to build human fraternity, which is a Masonic principle.
Of course,
it's a Masonic principle. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Let's just have a brotherhood of man. And what Schneider is saying is, no, true human fraternity can only exist in the one true religion. It's the only place that it actually can exist. Look, what we're going through right now in the church is a family crisis. What we are in right now is the most dysfunctional family fight that's ever happened, because you have Catholics. I mean, you're talking about people that got upset with me for implying that baptism is how we become children of God, who are Catholics who would consider themselves faithful Catholics. It's the teaching is so unclear right now that we have such a lack of authority and fathers in the church right now that the children have run amok, and the children are taking that authority on themselves.
So get this. So Lewis and Tom and others are upset at this catechism because they say that it is incompatible with Vatican II and the Pope sense, right?
Of course.
So
that's kind of what we're saying too.
Well, footnote 54 there, Nick was right on. It is Dei Filius from Vatican I, Canon 6. So that is a dogmatic statement from a ecumenical council that Mike Lewis believes is incompatible with Vatican II and the Pope sense.
Well, the thing is like, I mean,
I kind of think so too.
This is where my more spicy takes are, but I mean, yeah, like
it's a different church.
Yeah, like the entire system in and of itself, while there's a lot of good things that you can get from it, like like you were saying a second ago, Anthony, everything is so confusing right now, or the teaching is so confusing. I would say like the teaching is not confusing, but the hierarchy is an absolute, and I say this with absolute respect, it's a joke at the moment. It's a complete joke. Like if I, as a teacher, right, who teaches catechism as well as theology classes, if I was to teach in the way that these are being taught right now, no one would get a passing grade. They wouldn't even know what I said. It was just, it's absolutely crazy. But yeah, this is a different religion that's more focused on human fraternity. How do we get everybody to kind of coalesce in kumbaya and, rather than let's build great cathedrals, let's build the great Abrahamic family temple. Like that is the greatest image, pictorial image that you can get of where the conciliar church is moving to. That's just all that it is.
So here's what kind of baffles me about the Pope splainers, and I mean the Pope splainers who are faithful Catholics, right? These are the Pope splainers who are Pope splainers not because they love what Francis is doing. Pope splainers because they want to respect the dignity of the office of St. Peter. Yes. Okay, those people. It's almost as if they think we're enemies of the church, where I think that a lot of trads, it says it in scripture that there is going to be a great falling away. And that St. Paul says, whether I or an angel from heaven preaches another gospel to you, let him be accursed. Like, we look at that and we are just horrified at what we're seeing by them trying to change everything. And we're saying, I don't think it's crazy to think that we are in the great apostasy. If this is not the great apostasy, what exactly is the great apostasy? Because we are seeing every single person fall away from the faith right now. And we're talking about in the church, the hierarchy, still claiming to be Catholic, falling away. I think a lot of people thought the great apostasy would mean people leave the Catholic Church, but the great apostasy is the Catholic hierarchy abandoning the faith.
What would be more cunning from the devil, right? To have everyone just leave the faith, or to reinvent it and keep everybody in the same unit, if you will. I think that this is where, like, that sense of wanting to defend the office of the papacy is a good Catholic sense. You've said it plenty. You guys both said it plenty of times on this show, and that's great because it is a good Catholic sense. The problem, though, is is podcasters really the problem? Or is it the pro-abortion feminist who's in charge of the Pontifical Academy of Life, who was appointed by the Pope, put into that position? Is that the problem, or are we who are just kind of rambling, having a conversation on a Friday night? Are we the problem? Come on, give us a break.
And the thing is, I'm not trying to sow dissent, and I'm not trying to. I'm genuinely confused myself, right? I'm just, and I'm trying to work out my thoughts on air. I am just some dad with a microphone and a webcam, right? So
literally is a dad with the webcam.
I just am. I'm a construction worker and a dad with a webcam, and I think I am like so many other Catholics out there who are struggling with what's going on right now. I'm not sitting here telling everybody this is what needs to be done, this is what the problem is. I'm trying to work this out, and I'm seeing things happening, and I'm saying, I don't know, guys. I hate. Look, I have a bit of apocalyptophobia myself.
Yes, you do. No, philia, not phobia.
No. Look, all right. So I have a little bit of both. So I like apocalyptomania a bit because it's fun, but I also have a little apocalyptophobia because I don't want to be a cliche trad who's always talking about Fatima and it's but like Fatima, dude. Like I don't want to be that guy, but like Fatima, man.
No, I mean, no, it's fair just because it's like, look, I mean, if everything was hunky dory, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. I mean, look at the people like you guys are on Twitter. You guys see it more than I do. Look at the big names who are now calling the synod onto the carpet, like Cardinal Zen, who rightly points out that like I don't know if you guys saw the two Chinese bishops that left the synod today, right? They said that they were leaving for pastoral concerns back home. I'm like, they're literally communist appointed bishops who work for the CCP.
It's crazy.
Are they the problem, or is like this imprisoned cardinal who can't even get 5 minutes of conversation with the Holy Father? Is he the problem?
Real quick, Cat named Mouse. Do you want us to just go into some of the more difficult things, or do you want to actually? I mean, I would go through.
I'm actually starting a series on Credo next week,
and I don't want to take it from Nick if he's doing it.
No, I was gonna say like the more the merrier. So it's like this is not a competition. I'm putting it out there for free. So it's like if you guys want to do something where you like really have conversations about like deep stuff, that's cool. I'm doing this more like let's go line by line. I give my quick thoughts and stuff. So
that's pretty cool. So I think let's let Nick do that, and I mean let's go through all these things that Lewis is complaining about.
Yeah.
Let's go through some of the problematic stuff together right now. I mean, we'll do that. And then Nick is going to go line by line for Cat Named Mouse. So let's see. I'm just a caveman. Your world frightens and confuses me.
That sounds like an Apple podcast review.
Yes, Tom, we are live right now. All right. So what does Lewis have in his article?
Let's see here. So dignity, human fraternity. Let's see what else he has.
Just as an introvert.
So he's got the Muslims holding the same faith. He's got that listed.
Let's go through that again.
Yeah. I was telling Rob before the show started, actually before you showed up, I got to see that little snippet of your guys' show Back to the Future, because I'm a huge Back to the Future lover myself. So but yeah, no, so it seems like the controversy, let's look at the controversy real quick. Go ahead and
so this is from Schneider's Credo. Is it true to say that Muslims hold the faith of Abraham? No, Abraham saw 3 and adored 1. Genesis 18:2-3, and rejoiced in the vision of the future Redeemer. John chapter 8:56, excluding neither Christ nor the Trinity in his faith. Conversely, the Muslim explicitly excludes faith in Christ and the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree.
So my point was, the Muslims are claiming to believe in the God of Abraham.
Yes,
and I agree with that.
Okay, so they're claiming to believe in the God of Abraham, the God who created everything. So unless there's another omnipotent, all-powerful being, I'm not saying they I would, and I'm not even saying I agree with this. I'm trying to steel man their argument.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
I would say they, as Vatican II says, they profess to hold the faith of Abraham. So they're not professing that they hold the faith that, you could read it that they're professing to hold the faith that Abraham held, or they could be professing that Abraham held the Muslim faith.
So they profess that Abraham held the Muslim faith, but also I made the mistake of saying they believe the faith of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but that's totally wrong because Abraham has 2 sons, Isaac and Ishmael, and they're the descendants of Ishmael.
Ishmaelites.
Yeah, they're Ishmaelites. So it's. I mean, I wasn't even thinking when I said that last episode, but so I am not saying they worship the same. I'm trying to steel man and play modernist advocate. That's what they're saying. They're going to say, unless there's some other omnipotent, all-powerful being who created everything and is all merciful, but the thing is, they don't believe God is love. The things that we make, the claims we make about God because God revealed them to us, they would be appalled at.
Well, and even if we remove the revelations from God and just look at God from natural reason, the arguments people were making online, such as the guy from CVS, was that that if you use natural reason, you can come to certain conclusions about one God, and that Muslims believe in that God. But that's not true. Yes, from reason we can conclude God is perfectly simple. He is unchanging. He is all good. Perfectly, all these different things.
Well, you
But
use the
Muslims,
Thomistic principles, right? Of the unmoved mover and those things. That's I guess what they're saying.
but Muslims, to them, the power of God is so important to them that they don't believe all those other things about God.
Yeah, so it's like you're going to have certain emphases in like attributes that are going to become flagellated, as well as like their doctrine of Tawheed is going to be so vastly different in so many ways than the Catholic understanding of God. My question is this: is that so? There's that phrase. Is it? You might want to look it up, Rob, in Nostra Aetate, because I don't want to be butchering it. But like, doesn't it not say like they adore the one God with us? Because that's my key phrase.
We pulled it up last time, Rob. Pull that up again. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Okay, if they don't worship the same God as us, are they worshiping a God that doesn't exist, or are they worshiping a demonic entity that does exist?
Yeah, so good question. So if people want to do a deep dive, check out the Sacra Theologia Summa, Introduction to Theology and Christian Revelation, because it actually gets into the basic discussion of like, what is a religion? A religion is like us clinging to with intellect, and a religion is a relation to a personal being, right? With our intellect and our will. So it's like we recognize that we need God with our intellect. We submit to what he's given, and then we say yes to following him with our will. So that like, oh, go ahead, Rob. Yeah, go for it.
So it says the church regards with esteem also the Muslims. They adore the one God, living and subsisting in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth, who has spoken to men. They take pains to submit wholeheartedly to even his inscrutable decrees, just as Abraham, with whom the faith of Islam takes pleasure in linking itself, submitted to God. Though they do not acknowledge Jesus as God, they revere him as a prophet. They also honor Mary, his virgin mother. At times, they even call on her with devotion. In addition, they await the day of judgment when God will render their deserts to all those who have been raised up from the dead. Finally, they value the moral life and worship God, especially through prayer, alms, giving, and fasting.
Yeah, I'm thinking of so it's paragraph 841 of the CCC, right? The church's relationship with Muslims. It says the plan of salvation also includes those who acknowledge the Creator in the first place amongst those who are Muslims. These profess to hold the faith of Abraham, and then this is the key phrase, and together with us, they adore the one merciful God, mankind's judge on the last day. Well, the only true
What is that from?
That's from the Catechism. Let's see, paragraph 841, Catechism 841, second edition, so current edition of the Catechism. Now that the Catechism apparently can be changed willy-nilly, but that's another discussion. Anyway, but yeah, so that phrase adore, like together with us, they adore the one merciful God. That's where I'll completely say that's completely incorrect. You guys brought up the other night the Catechism of Pope St. Pius X, right, which I think this argument started to be used really by Mr. Timothy Gordon. I'm not bashing him or anything. That's where I think it's become popular. But the Catechism of Pope St. Pius X doesn't say anything remotely near that. It basically acknowledges the fact that Islam believes in a monotheistic being.
Yeah.
And Pius X, being a good scholastic, is going to understand that that's a personal being. That's all that is.
So I lived in a Muslim country for 14 years. In their prayers, they literally claim that there is no God but Allah. They have a separate word for God, and Allah is a distinct so-called deity. Now, but if you go to Arab Christians, they will call what we would say God, they will say Allah.
But that's because
that's just the word for God.
Well, in Arab, but before they spoke Arabic, they spoke Aramaic, and that's a different word.
Okay, so here's my question. Do they worship a God that does not exist, or is it a demonic entity?
I would say that it's most likely a demonic entity, just because when you take at least seriously the story of Muhammad and also what Muhammad himself claims, you see two accounts. One, when Muhammad's in the cave, right? Has an angel of light appeared to him. and then also by his own descriptions in the hadith, right, which are the kind of oral sayings in the life of Muhammad. Every time he gets a quote unquote revelation, he's twitching on the ground, he is foaming at the mouth, and he's saying, like, it's a very, very intense affair. Of course, this is demonically inspired. St. Augustine is very clear that the only true worship of God can take place inside of the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church alone. How can you call God Father if you do not have the Church for Mother, is what he also says. And so I think that that's demonically inspired, absolutely, because when you also look at it, isn't it convenient that there seems to be whole passages of Islamic revelation which completely abrogate great natural and holy things like child adoption for the sake of Muhammad wanting to marry his son's wife? Convenient. This is exactly what St. Peter says in 2 Peter chapter 2 when he says that false prophets have eyes full of adultery. Same thing with Joseph Smith, right? Joseph Smith happens to have all of these revelations that only he can understand, hieroglyphics buried in New York State, right? Only he can interpret them, then they're magically raptured up into heaven. But then all of a sudden there's a harem of women that are just around him, right? It's the same story with every demonically false prophet. Scripture has said it, and it plays out every day.
So to me, I would say the best argument against Muslims adoring the same God as us is what was the heresy of Marcion? It was that the God of the New Testament was different from the God of the Old Testament, right? In Islam, the later hadiths, I think they're called, of the Quran, after I forget if it's after the trip to Mecca or the trip to Medina. I'm not sure.
Yeah, hadiths are mostly after just Muhammad's life. But yeah, the whole.
But the later hadiths of the Quran abrogate the first half of the Quran.
Oh yeah. So what you're thinking of is the hadith is separate from the Quran.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
You're absolutely right. So it's
Surahs,
right.
The later surahs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Because it's later teachings abrogate earlier teachings. Yeah, you're right.
So then the God they believe in is changing and cannot be the same God we adore.
Yeah. Tom says, it's actually a Nestorian heresy.
A little bit of both.
Both? Yeah, I mean, they're both claiming that Jesus is not God, right?
Not just to mention all of the very, very interesting scientific problems like the sun setting in a pool of muddy water, or sperm coming from the spinal cord, or all kinds of insane things where Muhammad is, marrying a, let's just say, Chris Hansen worthy episode young lady, or wearing women's clothes, or saying that you can cleanse oneself at the bathroom with an odd number of stones, or you have to dip the fly in the milk so that you can get
that stuff is in there.
That's all in the hadith. This is all in the hadith. So it's like the Quran.
Yeah, but all right, but you go to Deuteronomy, they got some weird things in there too, dude.
No, everything. The law of the Lord is perfect. It all makes 100% rational sense, and we have entire commentator traditions. When you go over to Muslim nations, there's a lot of Muslims. There's some pretty crazy sheikhs who think you have to do this. And the thing is this: in the Quran, it only mentions Muhammad 4 times. Only 4 times, right? And so there's like a small heretical by Islamic Standard sect of Muslims, which are called Quran-only Muslims, because the Quran says that the standard of conduct is Muhammad. He's like the litmus test. But the only way you know about Muhammad's life is by reading the collections of al-Hadith. And when you go and you read the collections of al-Hadith, you find that this guy, is saying, on the one hand, you can marry up to 4 wives, but I have 9, and half of them are underage. And all of these crazy things that I've been saying, whether it's literally dunking the fly or using the stone, or that you can drink camel pee because God will somehow cleanse it in your palate, or that the sun sets in a pool of muddy water.
Why would you read this?
Because there's a lot of people lost. That's the thing. We got to understand. And so when we're doing these ridiculous ecumenical meetings where we're up there just saying, oh yeah, let's all be buddy. And I'm like, look, this guy's book literally is saying that we can cleanse ourselves with an odd number of stones. That's not the God I worship. That's insane.
I'm going to put a poll up tomorrow that says, did Arius worship the one true God?
He's far closer to it than Muslims.
I know he is. That's my point. And I want to see how it compares to do Muslims worship the one true God?
Joseph is base. They can't eat bacon. That's demonic. 100%.
Yeah, Arius was way closer because he was closer. He believed Christ was. Arius believed Christ is a created being.
Arius even believed the New Testament for the most part. He just had a heretical understanding of the nature of Christ.
Yeah, heretical. Like, you could, in a strict sense, say that Islam is like a heresy of Christianity in the strict sense, but then just to like, you have to again like read that catechism passage in context, in the 1960s context. Are they really concerned about like scholastic precision, or are they interested in kumbaya spirit? Let's all get together.
Cathars, Albigensianism, that's a Catholic heresy, but they believe in dualist, a dualistic, basically two gods.
And
good and
right.
evil are equal in power.
Right. So being a Christian heresy doesn't mean at all that they believe in the same God as us.
No, exactly, because it's like, I mean, all it means is that it has its like origin in some type of Christian principle, but it's grossly inaccurate now.
I don't even know what that. I think I know what it is, but I don't want to know.
The phrase is "peace be upon him," so he's saying "police be upon him."
But the second part,
yes, I'm not gonna say it.
Look, the thing is that there's plenty out there about Muhammad, and he is the last person on the face of the planet that you'd want to be following as a good moral conduct person. Like, we would have to have an uncensored show if I was just to go off right now about some of the crazy stuff.
We'd have about worship.
That I wanted a dubia question submitted to Rome. See if they answer.
Was there any other problematic areas that Mike Lewis brought up? I'm sorry, guys. Please forgive me.
I do think it should be pointed out that Lewis is complaining about the beliefs that Schneider has about Muslims. Schneider lives in a nation of Muslims. Lewis probably hasn't talked to one in.
You ever hear Eric Sammons try to say Kazakhstan?
It's hilarious because it's not a hard word.
What is
not
it?
At all?
Eric, it's not difficult.
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Eric, Kazakhstan.
You could say
crazy.
Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan. It's not that hard, bud.
Oh man.
One day we should come on and we'll do a locals exclusive show, and I will give you all of them, like the 10 most off the wall things.
That would be I would do that. Yeah, man, for sure.
Most people don't know. I actually am obsessed with Catholic Islamic apologetics because I was like over in Muslim lands a couple years ago for a long time for evangelization.
Dude,
and you have to understand
Detroit's not that bad. I don't know if I'd say it's Muslim lands.
Yeah.
Rob, you live in closer to Muslim lands than anybody I know.
Hey, they're 4 hours south.
Hey, while Nick mentions
it, there's another good one.
Well, before, Nick just mentioned it. If you guys aren't on our locals, there's a lot of bonus content on our locals that you can't get on YouTube. Head over there and go subscribe, join our locals. All right, what was the next one, Rob?
So this is the last one I see on the website. So question 96, then man is not a creature that the creator has willed for its own sake? No. Although man should never be used as a mere means to an end, the notion that man exists simply for his own sake is the self-referential error of anthropocentrism rooted in the unchristian philosophy of Immanuel Kant.
Completely based. That's completely Thomistic, 100%. So what is this? So is this like black section underneath? Is this?
So what seems Lewis has the bigger problem about is how is Schneider's footnote. So his footnote for this is the Council of Vatican II documents, Gaudium et Spes, made the ambiguous affirmation that man is the only creature on earth that God has willed for its own sake.
What does that even mean?
The SSPX, this is a classic text that the SSPX critiques because this is, it looks completely anthropocentric, and Schneider's answer is completely right. Like God created man.
Can you guys hold it down for 2 minutes? I want to go get something. I want to go get my missal, and I want to read to you why we were created by God. And it's not in the Fatherless Signs in my regular missal.
I read that. I got that missal on the trip, and I
your mass in your life, right? It is phenomenal.
You want me to, I have it right here.
Yeah, grab it. Great. Yeah, I'd rather you read it. I don't have to leave. It's cool. It's your mass and your life, and
it's the SSPX missile.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And it tells you why God actually created us. And the first time I read it, I was blown away by it. And essentially it gets down to God created man to be a wedding gift for his son. But wait, Yeah, let's see.
Ready?
Yeah.
In God's plan, it is not man who is the center of the universe, but Jesus Christ, the incarnate Word. God created all things for Christ. For the sake of Christ Jesus, in whom the Father already had placed all his delight, and for the sake of Mary, his mother, full of grace, God decided to create man in the universe. To this Son, in whom he is well pleased, friends were to be given, and so man was created. The race of man represents the friends of the bridegroom mentioned by our Lord in the gospel. To this Son whom he loves, the Father will give a house and a garden. And so the universe was created. Man, created for Christ, is loved in him. We thus form, as it were, a wedding gift from God the Father to Jesus Christ, the bridegroom.
So now, if you guys ever get the SSPX missile, it's much longer than that. It goes into
It's
a bunch of stuff about it. I'm
pages.
not going to have Rob read it, but what I just realized while Rob was reading that is, Rob, you and I should be undercutting Kennedy and his audiobook stuff.
You think so?
Yeah, you got a great audiobook voice, and I think
I can tell you I wouldn't give St. Christopher a Scottish brogue accent.
Yeah, I think
Kennedy.
you got to work on a couple of accents, and I think we can steal some of his business. Listen, I think Taylor is coming on, not this week, coming up the week after. So if he's got another book coming out, see if we can snake it from Kennedy.
I'll work the voice a little before that.
Yeah, you got to go in a little smooth jazz. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
You see that Mike Lewis is getting all worked up for this, but it's like, as the missile says, it's completely in tangent with Catholic teaching.
It's exactly like what you have been saying for a while, Anthony. Like the whole thing about TC and all that, like they're not coming just for the mass. They're coming for the actual Catholic faith.
Yep.
That's what they're after. Yeah, it might have started with the traditional liturgy, but if you believe the Catholic faith, they are coming for you, and they want to strip it away from you to where you give up in despair.
Did you guys see the Whoopi video from The View?
I make sure never to watch anything.
Okay,
with her.
well, play. I sent it to you. It's like a 4-minute clip.
I know.
We don't have to play the whole thing, but you have to. You want to talk about them trying to change the faith? Look, because there's one part. I'll have you stop it if there's one part. It's about a minute in where Whoopi says something, and it's just it gets to the heart of how ridiculous all of this actually is.
Okay, can you bring it up here?
Yeah, bring it up. So Whoopi Goldberg went and visited the Pope, and she described her visit on The View when she returned. So let's see.
Are we really playing The View on this show?
We're going to play this because, Robin, you have to get it. It's a pretty long thing. I'd say it's like 3 pages long, maybe 4. And just even if you don't read that, the amount of prayers you get in a Latin Mass missal are just phenomenal.
Robin, I'll get you. Give me a second. I'll get a link for that missal here. It's right on the Angelus Press website.
I thought Anthony was saying Rob at first. I was like, what? Rob?
No, Robin asked. She said, "Can you put a link for the SSPX missal?"
I was confused. I was like, what are you talking about?
So there's the Angelus Press, there's the St. Andrews, there's the Father Lassance, there's the
Baronius
Press. All great, all slightly different. The worst part is like I'm sure there's parts of each that are completely unique to that missile, and you need all 4 of these $80 missiles to get all of it.
I'm just gonna make a new one called the St. Thomas missile that has all
the super missile.
Yeah, the super missile that has all the pros in it.
The thing is, I love the Father Lassance because it describes what's going on in the Mass in so many places. It'll tell you when the priest is up at the altar, and it'll give you these little highlighted footnotes in the upper right corner and telling you exactly, because half the time you can't hear the priest and you don't know what's going on up there, and it'll tell you exactly what the priest is doing. Sometimes it'll give you the little prayer he's saying up there, but the SSPX one, like Rob said, has other things that it offers that the Lassance isn't. Yeah. The Lassance has little pictures that show you what the priest is doing, how he's holding his hands.
So I like the Lassance because it is pre-55. Its copyright is 1945. But that does make it difficult when all the Latin masses that you go to are 1962.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I wish the Angelus Press was pre-55, but I understand why the SSPX does 62. I don't know. I just wish that everything was more uniform.
Wait till Pius the 13th shows up.
Can't we just go back, man? Just make
Can't we just be Catholic?
Yeah, right.
As I told Tim Flanders on the Mass of the Ages podcast stream that was going on today, I rated the stream and I just said we have to have Dominican right supremacy. That's the only way to go forward. That
would be good.
I personally, so all of the missals I personally like the St. Andrews, I think the best, just because while I think the font is like the text font, the Father of Saints is the most aesthetically pleasing, the St. Andrews literally gives a complete description of every single feast day. So it shows you like why the gospel is what it is, why the, every prayer, every part is the way that it is. And that's just great. And yeah, it's pre-55.
I've never seen it.
The problem with the Father of the Saints, as far as like, you're right, it's got that older typeset, but the problem is it's not. It's been republished as like an image of that old typeset, so it's not like they redid it all with the brand new typeset and realigned everything. It's more like, here's a page on which we printed an image of how it was in 1945.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, but it's also kind of hard to read.
It's funny because if you get the St. Andrew's Missal, it's actually different than the St. Andrew's Missal back in the day. So like, it's so funny when you get like a pre-55 St. Andrew's Missal, gorgeous images, beautiful like sketching of saints and stuff like that. When you get a 1962 St. Andrew's Missal, it's like all terrible 60s artwork. It's like they're priming the faithful. But then it's funny because when you get the reprints now, like the current one that you buy today, they not only went back to like all the pre-55 stuff, but they also went and they like struck a lot of like controversial stuff about like the laity responding in the context of dialogue masses. It's so funny. So they're just making it even better than it was.
The other thing I'll say to people that are maybe new to the Latin Mass, there's a booklet called the Benedictus. I love the early 60s artwork.
Yeah, he looks at it while he sings I don't know.
Gather Us In.
Yeah, sure. That one.
Gather Us In. So there's a booklet called the Benedictus. It's basically you don't have to worry about figuring out the missal. You just go to the D. It's laid out for you, because when you get one of these missals, you have to know where to flip for the mass and then the propers, and
like you're using all 8 bookmarks in a missal. Definitely. Whereas with the Benedictus, it's just page after page after.
Yeah, you go to the D, and they send you a new one.
Do you guys have a problem with like using hand missals? Because like what the first TLM I ever went to, I don't know if this was like a singular grace, but I just instantly knew how to use it. And
my son taught me.
Your son taught you?
My son figured it out before me. My son taught me.
Yeah, Sean, I did screw that one up bad. My brain just went blank. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, but Sean, sometimes watching him bomb is better than him actually succeeding in the joke. So.
Well, yeah, I guarantee there's going to be a clip of that.
I will love anytime Rob bombs. I should have actually pointed out. Wait, what's that, Rob? I should have done that right when you could. Wait. Say that. Was that Rob?
So Nick, to answer your question, like I learned how and can do it just fine. But what I like the Benedictus for is when I'm at mass with my kids and they're grabbing at the book. And like, I don't want my $80, hand missal ripped, especially because I'm really anal about my books.
No, I am too. I see all the pristine books in the background. And so I am too. But see, I feel like the problem is that I have to, when I become a dad one day, by God's grace, I'm finally going to understand the average trad experience, because the problem is that I'm like in this cushy situation where I don't have any kids.
The average experience, you're not going to get a chance to use a missal anyways, bud.
Exactly.
Not for like 6 or 7 years.
Rob, did you get the little children's missal for your kids?
I have gotten them 3 or 4 different ones. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I'm saying for your kids, for your actual kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not at the age where they really care about them yet.
Yeah. When my daughter was younger, I got her one, and she used to just read, because I mean, It's basically they'll give you the propers, but they'll give you like a shortened, easy to read version of the propers and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's pretty good. What were we doing next? Was we went through all the problematic
Whoopi
stuff?
Goldberg.
Oh, Whoopi Goldberg, that's right.
A bastion of theological knowledge.
Yeah, I want to get to something very specific.
Hey,
that's why.
She was a nun once.
She was
Or twice. How many sister acts were there?
2, at least.
3, I think.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
3, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
she just riveting philosophical intrigue. We're just about to be completely blown away.
For real. And it was kind of shocking.
Before we watch this, we should probably check what Kratos is about committing suicide just to see if it is the same.
Hey, bro.
Vatican II doesn't condemn it anymore, though. You're good.
Yeah.
Because for 11 years, this is something I've tried to do. And,
Damn, Anthony, she sounds like she smoked more than you.
For 11 years.
Is it Kamala Harris?
She's brutal.
Kamala Harris is
you have
old.
to go through all these different ways. And we did it a different way. And the next thing I knew, I was in Rome.
Yeah.
Talking to him. And he was quite amazing. He is exactly what I hoped he would be, which is a pope for all people, regardless of religion, which I really appreciate.
Cool.
What?
Shut this woman up.
No, but she's right. She's right.
No, I know she's completely right, because like later on in the clip, there's like one of her co-hosts goes on and just like she says like, oh, I would consider myself a devoutly practicing.
Yes,
God.
yeah. Let's play this whole thing. We'll get into all of it because this is nuts. Yes, it is.
Nick, what do the manuals say about this, Nick?
Honestly, look, this is like committing suicide.
You guys get an indulgence for this. Come on.
We didn't even have to buy it.
Let's go.
And I wanted to thank him for all of my gay friends.
Yeah.
And
These people make our arguments for us. We don't even have to say anything about Francis.
Go ahead. Keep going. Let's go.
for all of my divorced friends.
Yeah.
It just gets better and better every single line.
No, but you're going to see the punchline. Watch.
Oh, gosh.
Because he basically has said, listen, God loves you no matter what. Come back to the church.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you don't always get to, meet and say stuff to people. And I just, I thought, okay, I'm going to walk into this building and I'm going to burst into flames. But as it turns out, I did not.
If God
And
was
I brought
just-
him some stuff from Sister Act.
And he requested,
He
right?
asked for it.
He asked for it.
And this is a little bit of what that all looks like.
Look how awkward. So awkward.
Pleasure to meet you. And glad to meet you. And my family. I wanted to say thank you for everything. You are very important. As important as you. You have something to do to the Es bien interesante the show. Yes. We're trying to help bring the sisters into the 21st century.
There are no sisters left, thank you guys.
Thank you, Whoopi. You're bringing the sisters to the 21st century. All this to get to one stupid line that I want to hear. So just keep going.
Really?
Yeah, it's important.
Avere gioia e a farle ridere. One of the best things you can do for people is to help them to have joy and to make them laugh. Yes, I'm trying.
All right. Blah, blah, blah.
You're emotional. But I have to tell you, when he said he bring a joy, I wanted to say, oh no, I forgot her. But it was
That's a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah.
That's a
But
wonderful
Whoopi, when I was a little kid, I got John Paul II came to Miami, and I wasn't a one-on-one. I got close to him with hundreds, thousands of other people, and I felt this. And I'm a jaded, cynical, disgruntled Catholic, and I felt this wave of something, of emotion. Did you feel that?
Well, you know what? I went to Catholic school, and
Clearly.
the first pope I ever knew
That's
about was
classic.
called John the 23rd.
A good
And
book.
Listen to
he
this.
was instrumental in saying to the powers that be, listen, we cannot continue to do these masses in Latin because not everybody speaks Latin. Do the mass in the
John the
language of
23rd didn't say
people
that.
we are
Shut
giving.
up, woman.
John the 23rd didn't say that. This woman has no idea what she's talking about. But it's not even what I want you to get to. It's coming
He
up.
said to the powers that be.
To the
He
powers
was the
that be.
power that
Yeah, right?
was. Gosh.
These people know nothing.
Are we done yet?
Almost. Keep going. Come on.
Killing me with this clip.
Yeah.
Giving the mass to, and tell these nuns to lighten up with these clothes.
Yeah, that works so
it's
well.
too heavy.
Works so
we
well,
need to
Whoopi.
be here. And it's been a very long time. And they really gave him a lot of hell about this, saying, how dare you come in and change this and blah, blah, blah. And this Pope gets a lot of hell from people because he is saying things that seem to freak people out.
He's pretty progressive for a pope.
Well, he's very progressive. He's a human being, as it turns out, which is what I really liked. And he is doing his best
Watch
to
Michael Lofton. Go watch Michael Lofton. He'll clear everything up.
Listen, keep going. Just get to the stupid part. I don't want to talk after. Come on.
be a human for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, because he knows that we're all flawed. He's flawed. I'm flawed.
He's
you're
definitely flawed.
But he's like, listen, we can bring the best we can, bring the best of us. So, you know, I don't know that it's gonna jump me back into church.
Whoopi.
But no, listen.
Stop right there.
You know,
That
but
was what I
it
wanted to
did
get to.
was
So all of this, the Pope of the world, he's the Pope of all religions. I don't think I'm going back to church. So all of this is Francis's evangelization. I mean, I'm not going to go back to church. I mean, you know, I went to thank him for my gay friends, and I went to thank him for my divorced friends. And he's a human being, and he's a progressive. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Francis. You're doing a great job.
Oh my gosh. That
Just for the record, if this cuts out, if this stream cuts out for you guys on YouTube, let me know. I just got a warning from YouTube that they detected video in our stream belonging to someone else. Your stream may be temporarily blocked.
Oh no.
So-
Oh, you know why? You have to play like shorter clips of that.
Yeah.
It'll
That's
cut
what
our
we were trying to tell you to do.
I
No,
just wanted to
4.5
get
minutes in just for that.
That's so annoying that's not fair use.
Well, it is like because we were talking. They're just
Whoopi Goldberg is just an absolute mouthpiece to the machine. And to have her go over and give what we all know, right, is actually striving to practice devout Catholics. I mean, this is a million miles away from the 2,000 Catholics that I walked with, you know, a week ago, who are striving for holy families and the restoration of all things in Christ.
different religion.
It's a completely different religion. And to say, like, you see all of those view hacks getting up there and saying, well, I'm a disgruntled Catholic, or, you know, I'm a Catholic, but I disagree with the church's teaching, or, you know, I used to go to Catholic school and thank goodness we don't have mass in Latin anymore and we lighten up a lot.
What about Sunny saying, she actually says after that, we won't play it again, but she goes, I am a devout Catholic. But I disagree with the church's teaching on homosexuality, and I disagree with the church's teaching on that. Like, she goes through a litany of all the things she disagrees with.
It's not notice how it's never.
She's really just a devout Episcopalian in the end.
No, she is. Yeah, notice it's never like anything actually interesting that they disagree with the church in, like, you know, some obscure scholastic point. It's always just the classic same old.
I believe in the energism of Palamas. It's never something like that.
It's like the same
pelvic
old
issues.
civil society drivel, the same progressive talking points that they don't actually really keep. The only reason they do this is for money. That's the only real reason. And
Anthony, I will give you $20 if instead of broads you use that term next time on
oh, no.
He's half a broad. I'll say them both.
Oh no. That nicely sums up just the current state of where everything is at, and it is so annoying, but it's not surprising. Like, it's not surprising at all. And so, man, it's just annoying. Because see, this is what's annoying. If the Holy Father, the successor of St. Peter, cared about her, right? It wouldn't be about bringing joy and positivity. The true joy, the actual fruit of the Holy Ghost, right, is with divine charity in the soul through sanctifying grace, which is what he should want for her. So if he knew anything about her, maybe he just doesn't have access to the internet, like that old Pope's planning line is going.
I'll be honest, I don't think he has a clue who she is. I think he, all these celebrities he meets. He met Sylvester Stallone, and he's like, "I watched you all the time when I was a kid." What?
But
You mean you watched
beforehand, someone whispered to him, "Holy Father, make sure you laugh at anything the black lady says." Okay.
Especially after the incident where he didn't kiss the black cardinal.
Well, it's like the video I put up yesterday on my show. So I did a news story on that the pro-homosexual nun that got invited to the Vatican. Yeah. They did that photo op and stuff like that. Where is the traditional Catholic families or the priests that have been dying to like talk to the Holy Father getting their audiences? No, just a bunch of secular celebrities. The Catholic Church is the ark of salvation. It is not the chaplain to the UN. And that's exactly what's going on. I will be so happy if I am 80, 90 years old and I finally hear a pope bring up the subject of sexual sins in an encyclical context. Some crazy thing like that. I'm just dying for it because we need to stay full.
There's two main goals of the synod process. One is the synodal process itself. It's a perpetual conclave.
Turns it democratic.
But it's just a perpetual council.
Mm-hmm.
If anytime they want to get a new thing in and say, hey, we got a synod every 2 years. We do this every 2 years, guys.
And that goes to show you that can't be the Catholic Church, because again, like we have a once and for all deposit of faith that we understand more explicitly as time goes on. And that's it. We don't always, the ever evolving thing is exactly what one of the commenters said. It's modernism on parade. It's literally modernism in the classical sense of the term.
The problem with a unifying pope is a unifying pope would cause a massive schism because you cannot unify without truth. And if you have a pope who starts speaking the truth, you're just going to get a schism, but you'll unify the faithful.
Yeah, that is the only way to unify us at this point. Yeah,
it's the only way. So then the other goal of what we're seeing is universal communion. Yeah, they want to open communion up to everyone. I'm talking Protestants.
Which makes it completely meaningless.
It makes it sacrilegious on a level that's even worse than we see today. I mean, I would say the majority of communion receptions are sacrilegious.
I would agree with you. I think that I said it, I think the last time I was on the show or 2 times ago, that we've systematized sacrilege because we don't ever preach on the sacrament of penance in common parlance. We don't ever really preach on hell, 4 last things, mortal sin. My students, right, these all come from Novus Ordo families. They've been going through faith formation their entire life. I ask them what a mortal sin is, right? 7th graders, no clue at all. Yeah. They're like, I've never even heard of it. I'm like, how have you not heard of this? And you've been going to quote the Catholic Church your entire life.
I say that, then they should never have received First Communion.
Exactly, 100%, because that's on their parents, that's on them, that's on teachers, etc., for just not teaching them and things like that. But you're absolutely right. I think that's what they want. And again, it fits the world fraternal model, right? Yep. If you want to unite everybody, then why not bring them into what is supposedly supposed to unite all of us? But yes, we can only have true unity. Like the mark of the church, one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. One is that amidst many facets is that we're one in faith. Is this the same faith?
No. And what I'll say, look, the irony of it all is the more they open communion up, the less people will attend.
Yeah.
It's like they think we'll let the Protestants come receive. We'll let everybody receive. None of them will come. It'll be a big show for the first couple of times, and it'll last for a couple of weeks, and then everybody's just gonna go. Nobody believes any Protestant that takes their faith seriously wouldn't dare receive Catholic communion. So you're going to just get these posers who just do it for the photo op, and once the photo op's done, it'll be over.
It seems that like the Novus Ordo Church and like mainline cringe Protestantism, like Anglicanism and Episcopalianism, etc., they're just like trying to see who can outdo each other and get to this further point to where eventually when that entire generation dies, you're pretty much left with 2 major groups in quote Western Christianity, the trads and like the evangelicals. And that's Like we'll be the ones to survive.
All Francis is doing is what the Episcopalians and Methodists started doing, however many decades ago.
Decades ago, yeah.
Yeah, and nobody goes to, like, you guys think the Catholic parishes are empty? The Anglican parishes are deserted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Complete wastelands, to the point where they're bringing in the helter skelter slide and the bishop sliding down the helter skelter slide during a liturgy. I mean, the optics of that, the symbolism of it is the bishop just swirling down into hell.
You guys did a great job on your interview the other day. Well, interview, but your discussion on Brian Holdsworth's interview with Pints with Aquinas.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I Brian Holdsworth, he's awesome. I don't know why I haven't had him on my show. I'd love to have a conversation with that dude. He's a great dude, from what it seems. But one thing he said so brilliantly, put into words what I was thinking, is that when you see the church act like the world looks at us and says, you're just cringe posers. That's all that it is. It is so cringy. You look at Christian movies, absolute cringe fest. Christian music. Why do we have rock and roll Christian music? Like, it's just cringy.
If I want to listen to metal, I'll just listen to metal. It's that simple.
Exactly. When I'm not saying, of course, that like all praise must be chant, of course, but all praise should be reverent and fitting. There's nothing fitting about just taking and basically posing off of the lyrics and the success of like secular stuff, whether that's music, movies, entertainment, whatever, and especially the liturgy, especially if the 60s revolution was consistent and we had a Novus Ordo that was really for our times, we wouldn't be using these cringy 1970s songs. We'd be using like modern reggae or something. Who even knows?
I never knew Brian Holdsworth was so trad.
We might have to get him on too.
I actually credit Brian Holdsworth, and I don't know if he knows this because I've tried sending this before, but he's up there in the upper echelon of people who don't respond to DMs. But I credit him actually greatly with getting me into Thomism, because it was like 4 years ago when I converted, he came out with a video talking about St. Thomas Aquinas versus the Nouvelle Theologie. And that video changed my life literally, because I started my show, read through the whole Summa, been studying it. It's my master's degree. Like,
he started that conversation before they got into tradition. They were talking about the virtues and things like that. And it was I'm telling you guys, if you didn't watch that interview, it was a really good interview. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I think we covered everything tonight. I am so tired. Oh, man. I don't want to yawn on camera. It's such a rude thing to do. At least the Protestants started their own religion. The current hierarchy is worse because they want to destroy the wantonly church. It's so true.
It's so true. But see, like, that's what makes it more sinister, and it makes it more interesting, because it's like, I don't know which video you're referring to, but thank you very much.
The one with the awesome, I think the one about the
the one that we told in the beginning that you had to, the way where you're describing the
is the conciliar
church, the true church.
It's so important. It's so important. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, people. Last thing I'll say, because I know Anthony's tired. I've been saying it before. I'll say it again. Like, if you want to go to war against what's going on in a good sense, a Catholic sense of the term, pick up your rosary, be praying 15 decades a day if you're able to, right? Yeah. Make little sacrifices, study the faith, go to the TLM. Read that, exactly. Come to my show, because I'm going to be covering
when are you starting that?
It's coming out this next week, so it should be Monday.
You don't do those live though, right? You pre-record them?
A lot of them I pre-record because I have not mastered live streams. You guys are way better.
And it's a good thing, because Anthony would be in your comments trying to get you to crack.
Well, if you want to,
eventually,
if you want to do a live stream, I would say have someone on for the live stream. It makes it much less nerve-wracking.
That's true. I feel like live streaming and just talking to myself and doing a presentation.
You know what you could do, Nick? Do one episode where you present however much you get through. Then after that, do a live stream where you take people's questions on that issue.
That's a good idea.
On that segment.
That's a fair point.
It's a good way to get used to it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Hi, Cole. No. Hi. What's the matter? Oh, I'll fix it for you. All right. I gotta go rent a movie for everybody. Nicole, come say hi with your funky hair.
Nicole.
Your hair looks cute, Cole. Come and say hello.
Yeah, everyone get their wives. I'll sit here with my wife right here.
No, your banjo's on the other side.
Oh, you're right. My bad.
She wants to kill me.
My other wife. I've converted to Islam.
Nicole, come say hello. Come on, everybody wants to meet you.
That banjo's probably older than. Never mind.
I actually have no clue how old this is. Probably not that old.
I was going to say older than many wives in Islam.
We could have saved the world by going to 7th century Arabia and playing Muhammad an old bluegrass tune, gospel tune. We could have converted him right there on the spot, and nothing.
Or just burnt him like a heretic.
That could have worked too. So, worst comes to shove.
Oh God, I'm gonna have Hamas after me for that.
I didn't even hear your jokes. I was responding to her text. I don't even know what you said.
It's probably a good thing.
Do you guys want to continue on? I could just.
It's been a long week.
We
we only have 4 minutes left on locals, anyways.
All right. This was a fun one. I'm gonna get Nicole on one night.
You know what? We really should get back to with Art and Lorraine.
Yeah,
with Nicole and Hope and talk about like our kids and their temperaments.
That would be a good one. Maybe because their books are such an easy read. Maybe I'll read another one of their books.
Oh,
or we have them on with Nick and they can tell them how to find a wife with a good temperament.
I'd be down. I mean, I have 2 or 3 prospects lined up already, but I'll take
look at this guy. He's got 3 prospects lined up. Went from nothing to 3.
Well, okay. I just don't talk about my dating life very commonly, but it's like, I will say this because maybe this would be worth a video one day. Like, most guys in the dating life are absolutely cringe. Yeah, and I think the moment changes for dudes when you stop looking for a girlfriend, you start looking for a wife. Because like, if you're a virtuous man, you'll be in the problem, which I am, where it's like, in the last year, I've had to turn down 3 or 4 people who've come up to me.
They can't keep these off them.
And so it's just like, I mean, but most Catholic dudes, they act like a lot of the incel crowd in the red pill world, where they're just like, no girl likes me, I just hate women. And I'm like, well, they don't like you because you don't have a job and no personality. So
you don't have anything to offer.
Way greater than Nick Fuentes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I told you last time. You have to act like you. I mean, if you had any idea the valuable asset you are, that's all you have to do.
You're a high value man, Nick.
You are a high value man. All right, guys, I'm ready to crash. Guys, please go support our locals. Please hit like, subscribe. We will be back on Tuesday with Daniel O'Connor, Thursday with Nancy Charles, Saturday with Mark Lambert, and then next week with Taylor Marshall.
The week after.
Yeah, the following week after next. So Mark Lambert writes for the Catholic Herald. He is Gavin Ashenden's co-host. I love Mark Lambert. He's a good dude. I can't wait to talk to him.
I want to know if he's got a better take on the Middle East than Gavin.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Gavin's take on that, but still love Gavin.
Dude. I love Gavin too. He's just a boomer, dude. You know.
What a name, Gavin.
The boomers love their love their Israel, man.
You know, I can forgive it because the dude made out with a KGB officer to make him look gay, so that's okay.
But even the other thing is, like, you can have a different opinion than somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like something like that's not gonna affect the way my respect for him and things like that. I don't care if somebody has a different opinion than me. Most people have different opinions than me. A lot of my opinions are terrible.
I 100% agree with that.
All right, guys, I'm done. Let's wrap it.
Let me play a video, I guess.
I'm not gay no more. I am.
What?
Play Whoopi again.
No, never.